to Inside the Den here on the Boxer Sports Network. Your sports information director, Mike Smith, alongside with you. This will be, of course, a Boxer Sports Talk show produced all throughout the academic school year, previewing, recapping, and much more all of Boxer athletics. We'll be joined by guests such as coaches, athletes, other athletic personnel as well. We've got our athletic director, Keith Buckley, also our head football coach, Ian Falconer, and our new men's soccer head coach, Brandon Porter, a Pacific alumni. They all join us here on the first edition of Inside the Den. Before we get into all of that and some other things, introduce myself a little bit. Your sports information director, Mike Smith, of course, with you on the Inside the Den. I'll be your host for the show, and ultimately, just want to fill you in a little bit about myself. I'm from Kansas, was an SID at a community college, Highland Community College, prior to taking the job here at Pacific. Ultra excited to work with the athletes, the coaches, and promote Pacific athletics, so looking forward to a lot of great things. I got a lot of ideas and different things I want to institute here for the action, and of course including this Boxer Sports Talk show, Inside the Den. So look forward to meeting all the Boxer fans and everybody too over the course of hopefully having some games coming up this spring. A lot of great things going on around Pacific University. Obviously the semester churning along, but the campaign Pacific Votes that the college is putting on, pacificu.edu for the college website. You can search Pacific Votes for more information. Just encouraging everyone to exercise that right that they have to vote, and getting information out there about all the things that you need to do to sign up and register, and just some information on different candidates, platforms, and things like that as well through Pacific Votes. Check that campaign out. Also, Athletics Giving Day, that's coming up here soon. Give back to the athletic department. Support your favorite Boxer teams. More information on that on our social media channels. Also, goboxers.com and pacificu.edu websites over the course of this upcoming week. And our new Boxer Spotlight feature, I just started that. That highlights Pacific alumni. First edition was a former Boxer football player, Eddie Carrillo, joining me. And you can find that a story and video interview at goboxers.com. We'll have more of those coming up in the weeks and over the course of the academic year as well. First guest, though, for Inside the Den is our athletic director, Keith Buckley. He'll join us coming up. Back here on the Boxer Sports Network, continuing on with our Inside the Den, your Boxer Sports Talk show, and joined by Athletic Director Keith Buckley. Keith, obviously it's a little bit of an unorthodox time that we're in, not something that we expected, to happen, and probably not what you expected when you took over as Athletic Director either to be dealing with at this point. But how's the transition been going for you into the AD spot, and moving forward with everything that is going on?
It's a day-by-day process, and I think the good and the bad is there is no measuring stick for what I'm supposed to be doing or how I'm supposed to be doing. We operated as an athletic department for so long without interruption, and now we're in this entirely new circumstance that goes beyond, I think, anything any of us could have imagined. And I think the thing that has really come through in this process is the student athletes, the coaches, the staff, the campus has really worked to do their best through all of this and continue to move forward, continue to prepare. And so it's been less challenging than maybe it could have been, for sure. But, we're just day by day getting up and trying to prepare ourselves for when we can get back to competitions, when we can get back to doing those things that we're here to do.
When you look at it through the athletic scope of things, obviously you talked about how the college in general, and in my short time just being around, I thought the college has done a really good job of obviously communicating the things that we need to and giving the kids the best atmosphere possible in this time. But athletically wise, I feel like people have stepped up too and kind of, taken over what we needed to do. And you've asked, all of us to kind of help with the monitoring and things like that. How happy are you with everybody kind of stepping up, and utilizing those roles?
Well, I think it's the old adage of in times of crisis, people come together. And I think all of the athletic department has graciously accepted some additional roles that we want to do for the safety of the people in the department, and having individuals monitor the weight rooms and monitor the gyms that maybe weren't part of their traditional job description, is allowing us to keep everybody in compliance with masking and distancing and sanitation and disinfecting. And nobody has batted an eye at that, because ultimately the goal is to not have outbreaks that halt our progress towards competition. And I think everybody understands they have a part to play. And that's not just in the athletic department, that's the entire campus. And, Dean Sarah Phillips, a dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, taking on a massive role in leading the contact tracing and monitoring and support teams, and making sure we're moving as quickly as possible with communications to students, and of which student athletes are a part. And our athletic trainers, Eric Buchanan and that crew, have done an unbelievable job of kind of rolling up their sleeves and involving themselves in the whole process. That'll have to change a little bit as we get into competitions in the spring with their duties, but I just think everybody has got on board with, hey, whatever it takes and whatever it entails for us to give ourselves the best chance to be ready to go when the first of the year hits.
And in the same sense, student athletes kind of in the same boat as well. I mean, they've stepped up themselves, I feel, and been able to listen to the coaches and everything too. How happy and is it for you to see our student athletes, abiding by the guidelines and doing what they can, because they know that it needs to be that way so we can get back to those competitions?
Yeah, I've been amazed by the student athletes. This is really a circumstance, given the restrictions we've put on them for practice, if you call it that right now, and really tight restrictions on everything. They could have made it really hard on their coaches and on the department. But they have, again, just graciously understood the rationale. We've tried to be as transparent as possible in explaining to them some of our decision-making processes and again, the ultimate goal of where we're trying to get. And I think they appreciate it. I think that's something that Pacific student athletes always are inquisitive, but they're also understanding. And so as long as they feel like they understand why, and it's not restriction for restriction's sake, it's got a reason and a rationale behind it, they've totally gotten on board with it. And it's fun to walk into the gym and the field house box and out to the facilities and see them adhering to the expectations. And I don't think they're doing it just because we've told them that's what it has to be. I think they truly understand why it has to be the way it is right now.
You've built plenty of relationships, I know, with the football guys over the years. And I know you did an interview recently with Rosie at the conference, to talk about the reestablishment of the program for football. And I'd be remiss not to bring it up and talk with you a little bit about it too. And a lot of great memories. I know a conference championship during that time, and that first win in year two. Eddie Carrillo, which I chatted with on our Boxer Spotlight, he brought that up, and that was a highlight for him. But what was some of the highlights for you as head coach of the football program?
God, some of it seems like a blur. It really does. I don't honestly remember a lot of scores. I remember a lot of the relationships, and a lot of the blood, sweat, and tears that went into going through the experience. And I think it's very similar to all our sports. But what's really fun, when you've been in a place for a decade, is now we're seeing players have families and get promoted at work and get into grad school. And there's a great little story coming out here pretty soon about Dante Reed, who got into USC's graduate school for physical therapy. And being able to write letters of recommendations for guys that you've built relationships with over the years. And, if I had to pinpoint something, I think probably two different things. One, that first win, and going an entire season without a win, getting, I think 6 games into the next season without a win, and really having an abysmal performance the week before the win, and really kind of circling the wagons and coming out and playing our tails off. Not so much in that we won, but in that those guys never gave up. I mean, they were 16 losses into their football careers, and not for a second did they give up. And that fight, that work ethic that everybody put in to build a foundation is ultimately what got us, into the top 25 in year 4 and a trophy in year 5. Was really exciting to be a part of and see. So that was one. And then, obviously we beat Willamette to guarantee a share of the conference title at home, and to see the students rush the field and the excitement on the players' faces around that, the assistant coaches who went through it all as well. Just the excitement for that. And then the alums, the alums that went 20 years without football on campus, and for them to be back a part of it, for them to show up on Saturdays at the tailgates, and to grow back into Pacific football with us, has just been a blast. And, it's probably the thing I was most looking forward to this fall, was being able to go out pregame into the tailgate area and share in that experience with them. Because for a decade, I walked through the tailgate for 20 seconds as we were getting ready to play. And this would be a chance to catch up with some of those alums and really take in all that we had built from an event environment standpoint too.
Nice. I was going to ask you, I was like, what are you looking forward to with, hopefully when spring rolls around, we have a little bit more semblance of normalcy and we'll have all the sports going on, but what are you looking forward to the most when we get to that point?
Well, I think I get to be a fan a little bit. Being a game day coach is a whole different experience, and being able to just enjoy our student athletes experience with them. The reality is we're probably going to be pretty limited in spectators. So we'll lose a little bit of the potential environment around contests, but I'm just excited to watch the student athletes work and compete, and because ultimately all our efforts, yours included, are for them, and for that to be the absolute apex of the experience that they want to have as student athletes, is that competition environment. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to growing our relationships with those alums and fans that are vested in Pacific athletics. So we're excited for it, and it could be wild, it could be busy, but I think everybody is up for the work that has to be done for us to be able to get back out there.
No doubt. I'm excited about it, just to get some games going and all that. So I'm looking forward to it. Keith, thanks for taking the time to chat with me, and looking forward to more to come.
Awesome. I appreciate the time, and I look forward to seeing more and more of these Boxer Talks interviews going on throughout the year. Thanks, Mike.
That's our athletic director, Keith Buckley. We'll continue on here on the Boxer Sports Network when we come back. Back here on the Boxer Sports Network, Mike Smith, your sports information director, with you here on Inside the Den, your Boxer Sports Talk show, and our head football coach, Ian Falconer, joining us. And Ian, you take over the program as head coach now this year. Obviously, probably not exactly how you saw it coming to fruition as far as that goes, but you've been around Pacific football ever since the restart back in 2010. But how's the adjustment going to the head coaching role and dealing with the things that are going on right now?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, and I appreciate you having me. Obviously, it's great to have you join the family like you have been here just recently, and I feel like we're going to be able to do great things, Mike. So thanks for having me. Yeah, I think it is in no way standard, but I mean it's for the course for everybody. I think if there's anything that we can say about COVID is it's some shared experience over just interrupted plans, But I think that's not all together in a terrible way. Just to remember that sometimes that's how life works, And my family is really lucky to be healthy. I'm lucky to be healthy. I think the vast majority of our football team hasn't been directly affected by the virus, but as far as my strengths as a leader, I think, and what I love the most, which is to be with people and to be with my players and coaches, it's been tough at times, but we're really fortunate just as a family. I think we're fortunate as a Pacific family as well to be weathering the storm quite well. But there's still a lot to go and a lot of creativity to still, I think, kind of help continue to move it forward, because that's the biggest thing. We just continue to think creatively about ways to connect with our players, ways to even connect as coaches, because what COVID has kind of sucked out of the room for a lot of people is that magic of just being together. The thing I believe that makes people and human beings, when we are our most happy, we are connected. So it's just finding ways to solve problems and being good about the responses that we make when life hands us big fat challenges.
No doubt. I agree. And, we've got a little bit of a positive, obviously, being able to have, practice and the guys that are here on campus and such, you've been able to have them now for the last couple of weeks going in that capacity. How have you kind of seen the spirits of the guys maybe pick up, given the fact that, they've been able to be around each other a little bit?
I think a lot of people think about, that coaches and players are so different. In the end, we're all human beings, right? I think that those first couple of days that we were out there, we just couldn't stop smiling, right? Because we'd missed each other so much. And even though right now, the kids want to put on helmets and shoulder pads and bang and play real football, which is hopefully in the future, we're just focused on that piece of just being together as a football team. And we're constantly talking about how important it is to build trust just inside of our, athletic department, but primarily in the football program. And we still need to find ways to do that, so being together and to have a chance to work together and all those experiences that go along with preparation. We feel like we're taking steps forward, but we were pretty giddy there for a bit. And, even this morning running around, the weather's beautiful and we're up early in the morning and all the kids are there. And, right now they seem really clear-eyed. They seem really excited. We're going to hopefully progress the drills as we go and hopefully things continue to improve with the virus and all those things. But we're really enjoying ourselves for now. And all the coaches are looking at each other going, oh yeah, that's right. That's why I chose this profession. You know what I mean? So.
Chatting with the head football coach here at Pacific, Ian Falconer, on Inside the Den, your Boxer Sports Talk show. And Coach, you mentioned the coaches, obviously a good group of guys that I've gotten to meet. And I think that, based on, some stuff that I've gotten to talk with a lot of guys, good football acumen, but good people as well. And I know that, experience is there for some, but, some of the newer guys as well have been added to the staff for you. Kind of talk about the staff and some of the new additions too.
Yeah. Well, I took over a great group of coaches that were here. And obviously Keith Buckley has now become our athletic director, and I was able to take over as the head coach. And so in the first couple conversations, first couple days right after the season finished, and I sort of took over, I started having conversations with the guys on the staff, and it took me about to my fifth or sixth interview before I realized that a bunch of those guys didn't really know what my plan was. But in my mind, everybody's staying. Nobody's going anywhere, just because I felt that strongly about the guys that we have and really just kind of the culture that's been built as far as having tremendous football coaches. And that's one of the things that Pacific football has done in a very short time, in the 10 years where Coach Buckley and myself and some other coaches really kind of built it up. We've had some unreal coaches. We really have. We've had guys move on to the Division I level. We've sent a lot of guys on to full-time positions in the Big Sky Conference and things that we're really, really proud of. And this staff right now, I think my coordinators are guys that just are very, very good football coaches. Lucas Gilgan, that's been with us for a good chunk of time now, and he's just one of those really young, bright coaches that just continues to grow. And Jim Kraft, who's come back to us now after being at Pacific with us for the first 3 seasons, went to Cal Poly and was an offensive coordinator there for a chunk of time, and now has come back to the Portland area because that's where he and his wife are from. But both of those guys, in a lot of ways, I can feel very, very confident that we are schematically going to have great answers on both sides of the ball. And then our younger coaches are all guys that I really vetted. And when I say it's important for me to vet coaches, one of the biggest things is just the heart and the mind. You know what I mean? Who are they as people, like you said? Because it's my belief that we can teach just about anybody football, right? Our schemes and what we do on offense and defense should not be such a level of mysticism that you can't take somebody that's well smart enough and loves to coach and communicate with young people and really, train and create a great coach. Because in our mind, the first thing that coaches have to do, and they really have to do it at an elite level, is prove to the young people that they're coaching that they care about it. That is the first thing. All the other stuff, that comes in time. But really, in the end, that kid, and whether he's your best player or he's one of the kids that's going to be the last off the bench, all those guys have to understand that those coaches are there just to help try to create an experience for those players that's going to change their life. And that's a core belief for me. And I don't believe there's anybody in my staff that disagrees with me, but that is the thing. And I think everybody on our staff right now has that good heart, has that good mind, and they're all eager to grow and get better.
Nice. Well, there's been some pretty good players come through Pacific as well and putting up some big numbers. I know that there's been some guys that were on last year's team scheduled to come back this year that kind of gave this team, a good group to work with. I know that early on we learned about the COVID thing. You didn't know like what the season would have, but just to look football-wise, what did the team look like to you coming into this year with what you were bringing back?
Yeah, I think we all knew, and we still know, and that's the roster and the coaching staff, that we have a chance to be a good football team in the future, and that's obviously really exciting. And there's some very strong personalities on both the offense and the defense, and some really good leadership, which has been a huge focus just for myself, and I think trying to develop in our football program to really kind of clarify the culture that we want to see. I was able to really early kind of lean on a group of players that have proven themselves on the football field, which to me, that is only kind of a chunk of the leadership piece, but really try to work with them and try to develop them in another capacity of just kind of how to lead our roster. And, I think this last year, all the kids that, they could feel it, that off season, that kind of spring that we were going through, and we've been going in the weight room early in the mornings. And then we were basically just in our first week of spring ball. I mean, we felt like we had real momentum. You know what I mean? The kids could feel the energy. I mean, the work that they put in, especially in those early mornings, we were able to do full team lifts. We really felt like we hit our stride with our strength program last year, just using the facility the right way. And those lifts in the morning, those felt like practices, the intensity of the kids were bringing. So we'll have a chance to get back to that at some point. We still feel really good about the facility. We feel great about how we develop players. Because really in the end, that's one of the biggest pieces, I think, especially at the small college level, is recruiting obviously the right people for your program, which coaches can control that, right? We try to recruit who we can. We can't give people necessarily full athletic scholarships, but we try to find the right guys. But it's recruit and develop, right? And once you get in there, what is the work that you are doing to take Johnny from point A, hopefully to a very, that really high apex, point B. So we were really happy with where we were going last spring. It's been a lot of shifting and kind of jiving to be able to figure out COVID, but we think we got a great system now for the situation at hand. So we're excited about the group that we're bringing back. But if anything, looking at this next year, where hopefully we have some competition in the spring, we're going to use this year to develop. We're going to use this as a chance and continually remind the kids that this is their opportunity to really grow, especially those young players who are just getting here, and usually a freshman rolling in the door for that first camp. I mean, he's choking on the playbook, right? I mean, he is just so stressed out, trying to balance his time, trying to get up on time, trying to get to meetings, lifts, and then know what to do. And, Coach Gilgan says stat cover 4. You know what I mean? So right now, our freshmen, even though they haven't had that standard camp experience, they're just getting to work on the really small pieces of what it's like, what it is to play D-line here. How does an offensive lineman move in the offense that Pacific runs? You know what I mean? I mean, you can kind of go down the line. So it's kind of fun to really get, the word is granular with a lot of these different positions, because they don't have to go play a game Monday. So we're trying to use that as an advantage as we develop the kids.
You obviously have a different situation than like any random head coach coming into a program. You've been with the program, you move into the head coaching role, so I'm sure that has kind of helped in that scenario. But what's kind of been maybe the best thing for you since being with the program's restart back in 2010 that has helped you become the coach that you are now?
I think that coming to Pacific and having a chance to start a football program from scratch, it's a train that leaves the station sort of once in your career. And thinking back 10 years ago, I eagerly leapt on that train. I really, really wanted to be a part of it. I had met the people at Pacific. I'd met Keith, and just felt a real kind of instant connection about how he wanted to do things. So I've had a chance to grow, kind of hold on to my core beliefs as a coach, and grow inside of a culture that very, very much fits who I am and how I believe, how you properly motivate young people. And so coming here and literally getting to kind of lay the foundation and build the house, put the roof on it, sheetrock it, do the whole deal, was tremendously impactful for me as a coach. And I really think that coming to Pacific and seeing a community, honestly, that really genuinely cares about football, cares about athletics overall. To be honest, I hadn't experienced that at Division III schools before. I'd been at great schools, but when you rolled the ball out there on Saturday, it was friends and family, and that was it. And you come to a Pacific game, and just the vibe of the tailgate and the people that are there and the crowd noise and just sort of that whole kind of thing, I immediately thought this place wants to do this right. And luckily, we had a tremendous AD at the time, Ken Schumann, that's now moved on to retirement, but he kind of built the thing. And a lot of me wanting to continue to stay at Pacific has been the connection that I've built with our AD, Keith Buckley, who I think just has a chance to be an elite athletic director. And if there's anybody you want to kind of be skippering the ship through something like this kind of storm, you want it to be that guy. It's been unbelievable for me to be here, because I think also the way that I want to do things and the way that I want to talk to young people and motivate a football team, for a lot of people, isn't always necessarily standard. And for me, that's okay, because I don't think I'm that different, that I believe that, doing the process right is what gets you to that end goal and all those good things that you want to have happen. But just what we talk about and the words that we use and the way that we try to motivate our players and motivate each other isn't for everybody, and that's okay. But I believe it is the right way. And I believe that, especially when you have athletes that are here to get hopefully an elite level education, but they don't want to settle for sort of a minimized football experience or a minimized athletic experience, you got to create an atmosphere and environment where people want to continually come back and plug into it, And again, having COVID become something that keeps us away from each other, if anything, we've been reminded of, just like I said, that magical spark of being together and how much we really care about each other. That idea of building trust and building the connections in our staff and with the kids, like, that's the secret sauce. You know what I mean? What you do offensively and defensively and them being well coached is important. But it's, in my mind, it's down the ladder for having a group of people that really, really believe in each other. And when it comes out there on Saturday, and come good or come bad, we're going to be okay, because we know who we are. And we know the work that we've done and the genuine confidence that we can carry when we go play any opponent.
Nice. Well, Coach, I'm looking forward to working with you even more and getting that football season going when we can play some games and see that pigskin moving around. And I want to say thanks for taking the time to chat with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it, Mike. Look forward to hopefully more of these. I think this is great. Hopefully it gives people a chance to look in and at least see what's going on in my big head. I think this is an awesome opportunity for people outside just to kind of see what's going on, because a lot of people ask about what's going on with football, what's going on with athletics, and we're fine. You know what I mean? We're doing okay. COVID isn't forever. And, if anything, whatever comes out on the other side, what we do now, we can define what it looks like on the other side. And that's inside of our football program, inside of our campus community. So it's kind of trying to seize on this opportunity, even though it's not necessarily what we would want, but we have a chance to have this storm change us, right? If we go through it, we have an opportunity to be better on the other side and help define what we want our reality to look like. And that's what I think about on a daily basis. And that's what I encourage our team to think about on a daily basis. Because one way or the other, we can't change it, but we can only really choose what we do next to make that next right decision. And I think whenever we come out of this, we're going to be just fine.
Most definitely. We will be bigger and better, moving forward, no doubt, with Pacific Athletics. That's head coach for the football team, Ian Falconer, here on Inside the Den, your Boxer Sports Talk show. We'll continue on when we come back. Back here on the Boxer Sports Network, and we continue on with Inside the Den, your Boxer Sports Talk, and our new men's soccer coach, Brandon Porter, of course, joining us. And Brandon, you're not new to Pacific, obviously. Your alma mater, you played soccer here, and now you take over the program. Not probably what you thought would happen when you take over the program as far as where we're at this point. But I just wanted to start off with, like what excites you about, coming back to Pacific and taking over the program?
I think what excites me is, in the last 10 years that I've been away from Forest Grove and been away from Pacific, I've seen a lot of growth in the athletic department. Obviously, I was here when there was not football and it was just coming back. And to see the amount of athletes and the amount of activity on campus and specifically in the athletic department is really exciting. And truthfully, I think what excites me is that we have a leader in Keith Buckley who has a good vision. He has a great head on his shoulders, and I think he's been the key. Obviously, he has been the key to getting us through the pandemic athletics. Between he and Lauren Brownrigg, I think they've done a great job of helping us all get through this, and specifically helping myself transition into this role here amidst it all.
I can definitely attest to that as well, as I'm transitioning into my spot as SID here at Pacific as well. And you brought up, the pandemic and everything, and that's led to an unorthodox start for you as far as head coach. Normally you'd be playing games, obviously, right now, but barely got into practice instead. You have gotten into practice a little bit and gotten the guys going. How's that going? And I know it's, again, something a lot different than what it normally would be.
Sure. Honestly, it's been going great. The key has been the guys too. With that, the guys have been extraordinarily flexible and adaptable. They've tried to see the positives instead of focusing on the things that we can't do. And so they deserve all the credit in terms of their attitudes and their outlook and staying positive. And we as a coaching staff are doing our best to try to design sessions that follow the guidelines to stay safe, but also challenge them to think and give them hopefully enriching activities. It's been tough, no doubt, but again, we're not special in any way. Everybody's dealing with this, but again, it's what's made it better is the guys. The guys have been just exactly what we expected out of Pacific athletes.
You got a coaching staff that you're familiar with as well, guys that you had the privilege of playing with here at Pacific, and talk about those guys, what they mean to you and what you think that they'll bring to the program.
Yeah, so I've got three. Jossam Jaihuni, JJ, as most people know him. I played with him for 3 years. He lived with me, and we were roommates and friends in college, and we're still friends now. I think he brings a tactical knowledge of the game that is extremely valuable because he understands the nuances of the game very well. He has a central midfielder, and I would say he has a much better soccer brain for those little minor details than I do, and that's something that I really value from him. Mike Iacolucci was in that same class. I played with him for 3 years. Also a very good player, just like JJ. And I think he brings an energy and a, servant first mentality to our team and our athletes that you need that. You need that energy. Both or all four of the coaches, including myself, were captains in this program. So we bleed black and red. I think there's a lot of natural leadership there. And so he complements our group in the way that I think he knows how to get to work and he knows how to lead people. And so I really value that. And then Kellen is the one that I never played with. He's a little younger. He's about 4 or 5 years younger than I am, than the rest of our staff, but he's a really good up and coming coach. He's getting integrated into the club scene quite a bit, or has been in the last handful of years. Great energy, good young coach. I think in the sessions that I've had him run, he has a different perspective sometimes. So he has some different ideas that I really like. But the kind of the fiber that brings it all together is everybody is doing this for the team and for the kids. And, in my, it's leadership at all levels. No one has to be, there's no pyramid here. It's really just, hey, if you have something that's useful, you think it's going to help, bring it up. We'll decide as a staff. Obviously, I'll make the final decision, but if it helps the team, let's do it. I don't care who says it. I don't care who does it. Let's just make sure that, the athletes get a great experience and are challenged to get better.
For people that don't know, of course, who we're chatting with, Brandon Porter, our new men's soccer coach here on the Inside the Den, your new Boxer Sports Talk show. But Brandon, you obviously had some head coaching experience prior. You mentioned, that you had a little bit of time between your playing career to get to now being the head coach here at Pacific. But Oregon Tech, I believe, is where you were at. And talk about your coaching experience and how you progressed to now this point.
Sure. So I'll start with, I coached when I was at Pacific. I coached club soccer for Jim Brazo at a club in the South Portland area. So I did that for 3 years of college. And then after college, headed down to Flagstaff, Arizona, originally for graduate school, and started coaching with the club there, and then the college, Northern Arizona University. Kind of get your lucky breaks, right? And so my lucky break was the guy I coached club with down there was the head coach at NAU. They're a Division I women's program in the Big Sky. So they compete against, Portland State, Montana, Southern Utah, a lot of the mid majors. But had a great experience there. Had an opportunity. We won a Big Sky championship, played an NCAA tournament, gained a lot of experience and knowledge of recruiting through Andre Luciano, the head coach there, who was there for almost 20 years. And he's still a very good friend, somebody I talk to, usually now a weekly basis, just I think we're so busy. And then, first head coaching job at the collegiate level was Oregon Tech on the women's side and NAIA program. And I was there for 5 years and went from legitimately one of the worst teams in the NAIA to finishing this last year 5 with a conference championship and top 25 in the nation. And testament to the people that we recruited and their character, and testament to the work that they put in, and we were very proud of them. And then I was fortunate in my final year to be the director of soccer and oversee the men's program and coach them as well. So, soccer is soccer, men or women, but, my heart was, I loved coaching female athletes, but I always knew I wanted to come back to coaching men. And 10 years ago, Pacific men's soccer job was my dream job, and it is still. So I'm really, really fortunate. I'm really grateful.
Nice. Well, you get now to lead the team, and hopefully some games will be played in the spring at that point. But I wanted to go back to your time as a player here, as a boxer, a soccer athlete, and any favorite memories? I know you played in 80 plus games during your 4-year career, but any favorite memories that stand out?
Oh gosh, it all runs together. I totally. I remember my first season when we were definitely the least talented I've ever seen a Pacific team be. They were coming off the year before a 2-win season, and we won 10 games. They were 10-6-1, I believe, and we were playing out on the old Tom Reynolds soccer field, which is where Cascade Hall and the tennis courts are right now. We had a handful of upsets against nationally ranked teams, a lot of 1-0 wins. Went to probably a game that I remember very well was going up to University of Puget Sound when they were, I believe, number 6 or 7 in the nation. They scheduled the game for homecoming weekend. So, of course, there was a huge crowd there to support their very good soccer team to play against our lowly ranked boxers. And we went up and upset them 1-0. And our goalkeeper at the time, Jory Shane, which I hope he's listening, but he's the coach over at Glencoe, a very good goalkeeper, had you can look up in the record books, but it was like 20 some odd saves, and they were all legitimate saves. It was not a, roll into his hands, saved a PK. And it was I think that was a catalyst for the men's program for the next 6 or 7 years, was that season. And again, we did a lot with very little, and that's something that we were all very proud of. And it's probably one big memory. There's lots of other memories that aren't on the soccer field, just being a student athlete at Pacific and the classes and the professors, but that's definitely one that sticks out in my mind for sure.
You talk about classes and things outside of athletics as well, and I'll let you go on this. I kind of wanted to get your feeling on like what Pacific means to you, and like obviously it means a lot, being a player now wanting to come back and saying that this is your dream job. But what does Pacific mean to you, and like why was it so influential in your life when you were here?
I think Pacific, this is the same kind of conversation I have with recruits. They're like, hey, I'm looking at Whitworth, Whitman, Willamette, Puget Sound, all the different colleges that are very similar to us. And I tell them, I say, listen, those are all great schools. I don't think there's a bad school in our conference, and I don't think there's a bad school. I don't think in the country for the most part. I think everybody does something really well, and most of them do a lot of things really well. Pacific is no different in that way. What I think the difference is that Pacific treats people very well, and puts the well-being and the thought process of people, the faculty, staff, students, student athletes, everyone. I think that's a huge difference. I mean, I come back to campus, 10 years later, and I see the same custodial staff working, and they remember me. I mean, that's crazy. And we're walking, Mike and I, to go get a cup of coffee, and we run into Phil Reuter, who we both took classes from, and Mike took a lot of classes from, and we chat with him for, I don't know, half an hour over at the corner of outside of Marsh Hall. And it's just, to me, that's what Pacific is so special about, is the relationships you develop with people that last. I think that it does that really well. It fosters a very, very tight knit, long-term relationship. And that's what we say when we recruit people too. We're not recruiting you for 4 years. When we sit down with a student athlete and their parents, we're not recruiting you for 4 years or 4 seasons. We're recruiting you for the rest of your life, is what we hope for. That after you graduate, if you call us, of course, we're going to answer, and we're excited to see you or excited to talk to you.
Nice. Well, Brandon, thanks for taking the time, man, and looking forward to working with you this year and in the years to come, and hopefully looking forward to some soccer matches coming up in the spring as well.
Yep, I think we all are. Awesome. Thank you, Mike.
Brandon Porter joining us here on Inside the Den, your new Boxer Sports Talk show on the Boxer Sports Network. We'll continue on with the show when we return. Well, Boxer Nation, that's going to wrap it up for our first edition of Inside the Den, your new Boxer Sports Talk show with yours truly, your SID Mike Smith. Hopefully you enjoyed the interviews with our athletic director Keith Buckley, also our head football coach Ian Falconer, and of course our head men's soccer coach Brandon Porter as well. All the shows will be archived on our YouTube channel, so you can watch back and check out all the latest and greatest information about Pacific sports. Don't forget, you can follow us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and all that. All the links right there on your screen. We've got another Inside the Den coming up, here soon, so stay tuned for that, and plenty more to come. Of course, thanks for tuning in here for the first edition of Inside the Den on the Boxer Sports Network.